Boom. Vinnie, what happened? We lost you, my friend. Where'd you go? Well, we are. Oh, he's coming back. There he is. He's back.
Yeah, I have no clue what happened right there, but you know what? It's a Friday, and we can happen. Things like that can happen.
Well, I mean, earlier I got caught in like a runaway spillway with all this rain, and I had to make a makeshift raft as I thought we were getting flooded. And luckily, as I was flowing downstream, what I realized is it never rains during this month, and this is very unusual. But that's almost as unusual as what's going on right now in the housing market, huh? No one would have predicted all these interesting things happening so quick.
Why don't you walk us through some of them?
You know, it's you look at what's going on this week, which has been very unusual. It's like mortgage rates took a dive, and when I mean a dive, I don't mean they went down. I mean they dove in and went up, which is very unusual because what it is the market's looking at everything going, the worst hasn't hit us yet, and that's why the rates keep coming up, which is very unusual because last week rates were lower. I mean, you look at the 30-year fixed, it's back up to almost 6% now. You look at your FHA, it's back down to like 5.25%, as opposed to the prior week, we're down at 4.75. You look at Jumbos last week were at like 4.875. Today they're at 5.25. Like, it's crazy how the market reacted to all the data that went on this week and looked at it and goes, hey, we don't really like this. We don't like what's going on. And it's more, once again, predicting that the market is thinking that rates are going to get lower, maybe at the end of the fourth quarter. But I'm still predicting, later on, rates will get lower as inflation gets tamed. The strange thing is inflation and interest rates seem to follow each other very similar. So as inflation was ticking up, so did rates. But now that inflation's supposedly coming into effect a little bit lower, like rates should start trickling down. So it'll be interesting next week to see how the market reacts to the, consumer price indexes coming out and how rates are affected, because this month we have a really easy inflation measure. I mean, we only have to beat 0.3. So if anything, prices don't rise by 0.3, then the current administration says, oh, it's a gigantic win, prices are coming down, inflation's solved. But that's not the case because in October, November, December, the marks for inflation are way higher. So I think that's why the market's looking at what's going on right now and going, hey, we're not out of the woods yet. We're still pricing in risk. And I think that's the problem. And, a lot of the homeowners I talked to this week, they all said the same thing. Well, it's really not that bad. And I'm like, no, historically it's not that bad. But over the last 2 years, Vinnie, when me and you looked at rates at 2%, 2.75, it looks terrible, So.
Well, the funny thing is, and again, you got to, whoever you're talking to, talk to 2 or 3 different lenders. At the same time to get a good idea of what they're looking. It was funny, and I might have brought this up in a market update before, but I had a lender I was talking to that worked at a credit union, and he was telling me, hey, you know what? We're actually artificially raising our rates because we don't want to take on new loans right now because how volatile the market was. This is like probably a month and a half ago. There is flexibility on rates from lender to lender. So just be aware of that when you're talking to a lender. The rates can be a little bit lower, or they can be a little bit higher with the next person, right? Also, the market. Also, there are creative ways of financing, right? If you're looking at short-term protection on lower rates and low monthly payment, you can buy it down. There's so many different avenues. Really talking to a lender to really figure out what options do I have available, how can I make it palatable for me today, and still make it strong enough for me and secure for me for a couple of years down the road. And maybe you do a buy down for the first year or two, and then you're going to get a raise in the next couple of years after that, and then you have that 30-year fix. There's so many different options. But you really have to talk to a good lender so they can give you the information.
It's funny you mentioned it, Vinnie, because we have the 2-1 buy downs going on right now, which are, very interesting. And the other thing you mentioned about credit unions and banks, they're all now realizing they're raising their rates back up because for the last 3-4 months, they've all been so low, which you're 100% correct. They were trying to buy market share by keeping their rates artificially low. And now it's going to come back and hurt their pocketbook. So now they're all raising them up. And all those credit unions who are giving rates away at 4%, 3.5%, what happens is they fill their balance sheet with those loans, and then they can't sell them, and then they don't meet Federal Reserve requirements, and that's why they're all raising rates back up. But if you can get in now with a credit union with the rates they're still offering, I mean, oh my gosh, it's a smoking deal. Like it's totally worth it to do. And I'm a lender, and I'm telling you, check it out yourself because it is a smoking deal. Just make sure they do it correctly and that you do cross all the T's, dot all the I's, because otherwise credit unions are notorious for a ball drop at the end and giving you a surprise you may not want.
Well, you got to remember too. I mean, you got to check with the lender how they're getting paid. I mean, some people are getting paid commission, some people are getting, bonuses, some people are just getting salary. And I know there's a negative connotation. Oh, well, you know, I might pay less to this originator to do my file. Yet, if they don't have that hunger in wanting to get the file closed, I mean, there's a difference between having ethics and hunger, right? But if they don't have basically the hunger, the want to actually and take pride in what they do, they can let your file sit or drop the ball or really throw something at you at the last second because they can care less if it actually goes forward. So understand that can help you out to make sure you're getting the right person you want to work with in the future.
You know, on a lighter note, Vinnie, let's actually give some good news here. I don't know if you noticed, but 2023 is around the corner. And they increased the conforming loan limits from the 647 that we're at now to 715. So that's going to help people too. Like, you know, we don't want to all be negative Nelly news here. We want some good news too. And, you know, the conforming loan limit is moving up to 715. So as of Monday, the old conforming loan limit of 647, certain lenders are now going to let you lock at 715 for conforming. So I'm one of them. I'm sure there'll be a couple other larger players who will do that as well. But the reason why we mention that is that's going to help you actually get a lower rate than you could normally get. So that's a big thing. And, you know, the other thing that came out that was interesting this week was Redfin released its study that it's conducted since like 2009 until now. And basically this last month was one of the largest months they had on record where people actually lowered their home prices. So that's kind of the thing. So if you were out there on the fence going, hey, the market's going to crumble and everything's going to heck in a handbasket, that's not going to happen. But the prices did come down because as we go into fall, Vinnie, me and you always know what's going to happen. Fall becomes a harder time for people to sell their houses. So I think there's going to be a lot more good bargains out there coming around.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the clicker below, you've seen basically lower active properties on the market, a tad bit lower pending properties on the market. So things to kind of think about. I mean, we were shooting upwards in the active properties, more options, more availability. Probably about a month and a half ago, we did have a downtick in rates, and so that kind of helped out. I think more people getting under contract. So anyways, you know, we like to finish this off to give you guys a chance to win. I have the clicker below with myself and David's information. We're going to put David to the test first, and then you get a feel for him. And then from there, we can take it to the next level. So David, how much of the least expensive detached properties sell in Rancho Santa Fe so far this year?
Well, that was actually my house in Rancho Santa Fe, and I sold it for $2.9 million.
That is incorrect. 1.9.
That's not my house either, by the way. I just figured I'd throw that in there.
All right, so you can tell that he's about half off right there. All right, so now we're gonna go the other direction.
Wait. Is that a house or was that a condo or a townhome? Because what sort of Rancho Santa Fe you're talking about?
No, I understand. It was in the zip code.
The proper?
Yeah. All right. So how much?
That's pretty good. I would have.
Right, okay. How much did the most expensive detached properties sell in Oceanside so far this year? Most expensive.
Ooh, Oceanside? I'm going to say 1.4.